हेलो टेक्निकल सपोर्ट। आईसीआई को होस्ट कर दिया। हाँ ठीक, आईसीआई नोएडा को आप नहीं छेड़ना। ऑडियो वीडियो कर रहे हैं, बाकी यहाँ से अभी सर बोलेंगे।
ज्वाइन किए हैं क्या?
नहीं सर, टेक्निकल सपोर्ट और हम
और जो ज्वाइन करेंगे वो कहाँ?
वो आ जाएंगे सामने।
अभी तो कोई नहीं है। क्या मजाक। ये बड़ा वाला चेयर हटा दे दो ना।
ठीक है सर, आप
अरे नहीं यार,
दूसरी को।
हाँ सारे इन लोगों का भूलना नहीं है। मैं तो उसमें शुरू हो जाता हूँ अपना नहीं तो।
लिंक भी तो नहीं ज्वाइन किया है।
वो डिपार्टमेंट दे रखा है यार, संभाल नहीं पाता।
हाँ सर, प्रॉब्लम होती है इसमें, खुद ही कर देता हूँ।
आए हैं
मिस्टर तेजस्वी
है। ना हौच-पौच क्यों है यार, पता नहीं खिचड़ी बना दिया।
हाँ सर, बस 34 अभी कौन लिंक बना रहा है।
क्या लिख रहा है भार्गव? फैकल्टी नॉट ज्वाइंड, ये देखो ग्रुप में लिख रहा है। हेलो मिस्टर भार्गव, फैकल्टी नॉट ज्वाइंड आपने क्यों लिखा है ग्रुप में?
आप मत
फैकल्टी
लिखो,
सिटिंग
आप मत
लास्ट
लिखो।
20 मिनट फैकल्टी सिटिंग है। आप डिलीट करो उसको। आप ही कुछ क्वेरी वगैरह कर रहे हैं टेक्निकल इश्यूज की वजह से, हम तो बैठे हुए हैं। आप इस मैसेज को डिलीट करिए प्लीज।
ये रेडी कर दो। अच्छा, आप शेयर करोगे फाइल? शेयर
क्वेरी कहाँ आएगा पता है? क्वेरी
क्वेरी हुआ कुछ?
स्क्रीन शेयर स्टार्ट होगी।
अगर आप स्क्रीन शेयर करोगे तो क्वेरी वहां से हो ही नहीं सकती। हाँ सर, अगर एक स्क्रीन शेयर करेंगे तो फिर क्वेरी कैसे होगी?
इसमें खुलेगा मोबाइल पे। क्वेरी तो चाहिए भाई।
मानो ये क्वेरी मोबाइल पे खुलेगा क्या लिंक? जो क्वेरी आएगी वो मोबाइल पे हो सकता है क्या? प्रॉब्लम होगी सर उसमें, क्योंकि वो एक्सेल में आता है तो आधा कट के आएगा। एक लैपटॉप को जुगाड़ और करना पड़ेगा सर। एक लैपटॉप को जुगाड़ और हो जाए
दे दो।
क्वेरी
इसको आप चार्जिंग पे लगा दोगे क्या?
उनको फोन बोल दो ना कि लैपटॉप में जुगाड़ कर दो जो आएगी।
कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं।
तुम छोड़ो यार, काम कर छोड़ो। कर दो, स्टार्ट कर दो।
भार्गव काम डाउन शुरू कर दो। वापस
हाँ ले लो, मेरे को ले लो, दोनों को ले लो। मैं ही बोलूंगा अभी शुरू में 5-10 मिनट तुम बोलना, उसको रिलैक्स करने दो। अरे बैठो बेटा बैठो।
करो आप, काम तो दो। तो
Recording in progress.
Good morning to you all. Welcome to this session of Board of Studies Success at CA examination for all the CA intermediate students for paper 4 cost and management accounting, and myself Dr. N.N. Sengupta, and with me my colleague CA Mayank Jain, and we'll be discussing few things about the coming examination which will be there in the month of September. So many of you have already prepared for this examination, or many of you may be preparing it, and based on the mock test paper 1, you must be reviewing that which are the topic at which you are good and which are the topic where you need to go through more accurately. So accordingly, you can decide that the areas, the weaknesses you have, and how you can improve on those areas. Before going into the discussion, few of the things we'd like to highlight that this is a numerical paper.
Recording stop. Recording in
And this is a
progress.
paper where not only your conceptual skills are tested, but also your practice is tested. So this is a paper where you require conceptual clarity. At the same time, you require little bit of calculation skill. I will not say mathematical skill. I will say calculation skill, where you can calculate the things very promptly and you can represent your things very, in a very precise way. So very important paper, particularly Group 2. I think, Mayank, you will agree that Group 2 paper, Group 2, passing basically depends on this particular paper, what I mean to say. So, not an easy paper as such, but if you can clear your concept and you can practice a lot of questions, I think your job will be done for this particular group. Obviously, there are audit paper, and then there is financial management and strategic management, which is little easier probably than this particular paper. So I will request all of you, whoever is attending the session, whoever will be viewing it, please give lot of importance to this particular topic, particular subject. Now this subject is having 15 chapters and in your study material. And except few chapters, all the chapters are numerical based. So the first chapter is where all the concepts are taught, which is a very important chapter. Then in the first session, first segment, material labor or employee cost, overhead, then activity based costing. So these are some of the very important area, ABC analysis, ABC costing. So those are the areas which are there in the very first part, which you need to do it very carefully, and except the first unit. In the first unit, all the concepts are written, and there is a concept called how to segregate between the variable cost and the fixed cost. So except that part, all the chapters are the numerical chapter. Material, full of numerical as well as concepts. Employee cost, full of numerical as well as various concept. Overhead, there are various type of numericals like calculation overhead, calculation of primary overhead, calculation of, or presenting the primary summary statement or secondary summary statement or overhead statement. Then machine overhead, already I told you. Then the treatment of various things. Then if you come to cost sheet, another very important chapter for the numerical part, where you need to arrange the cost in a systematic order to represent it to the managerial department or to the decision making department. So there are concept of prime cost, there are concept of factory cost of production, cost of goods sold, cost of sales and sales. So how each of these is calculated, what are the different kind of adjustment you need to make, So you have to be very, very thorough in this particular chapter, and there can be certain adjustment, certain new adjustment always, and you need to make a treatment of those. One or two issues we find in cost sheet, we'll come to that. Then it comes to activity-based costing based on overhead, where the distribution is done based on absorption costing, based on traditional costing. Activity-based costing is much more superior as far as the cost allocation is concerned. So we need to practice the question of activity-based costing, and then the second part start, where the integrated, non-integrated costing we do. Then we do different type of costing, like, or different methods of costing, like unit costing, batch costing, process costing. Then contract costing is not a part of syllabus. Please note it very carefully. So any of you are practicing the previous year question, please don't practice the contract costing. Then obviously you have joint product by product, another very important, along with process. And then in the last segment, if you see, there are standard costing, marginal costing, and budgetary control. And each of these segments are very, very important. So probably, except the first unit, which is mainly theoretical or conceptual, all the chapters are having numericals, and good number of numericals, and your questions may come from any of these chapters. There are chapters like standard costing, marginal costing, budgetary control. There are chapters like activity-based costing. There are chapters like service costing. I didn't mention service costing, various type of service costing. That is again very important part. So it's very important that you practice all the question which is given in the study material very, very thoroughly. All the question means all the question very thoroughly, and not once but twice. And then have the conceptual clarity, practice the question which is given at the back, and then you practice the previous year question, the RTPs and MTPs and all other things, so that you are absolutely thorough. And then what is very important, like mock test paper 1 you have seen, it's very important that all of you please practice the questions within the stipulated period of time, that is 3 hours. Because until unless you practice this question in 3 hours, it may not be very, very beneficial for you. So you put yourself in examination condition, that if it is examination condition, what you could have done, how you would have solved the question, which question you could have done first, which question next. So all type of experiment, like in cricket it is said that net practice is important or match practice is important. So you play match with various teams before actual. Sometime your own team you divide into 2 parts, and then you play matches. So similarly, this mock test paper will prepare you mentally, physically, conceptually, mathematically to attempt the final year question, because those 3 hours will determine that how you perform. You may have solved the questions very well throughout your life, throughout your your life means life of study, whatever may be the period you are doing, 9 months or 12 months. But it's important that when you are doing it, when you are appearing in the final examination, how you are performing there. So that's going to be very, very important. And some of the things chapter wise, I think also we'll be discussing, we'll be touching upon that in which chapter, what are the things you could do. So can you see the question queries here? Query का link है आपके पास? Any query you have, you just let me know, whoever is there in Zoom. Anybody is having any question in Zoom?
एक टीम ऑडियो ऑन है ना, बच्चों का लाउड है?
Okay. Okay. So I think, Mike, you can start. Then we will take the chapter-wise things also.
Yes, sure. So we'll start with the syllabus as well as the weightage of the each chapter as well as the skill-wise weightage. So when you are doing the syllabus or when you are covering your syllabus, you have to focus on the weightage as well. Since each chapter covers a particular weightage, you have to focus on those areas which have more weightage and give your time to those area as well which have less weightage. So starting with the first chapter, introduction, and the second chapter, element of cost sheet, it both covers the 10 to 15% weightage, which is around 11 to 18%. So you have to cover both the chapters. Since it is a cost sheet, it will cover one question. It may be of 10 marks or 6 marks or 12 marks, and the one is of theory question. So you have to cover the theory part as well. Next is for the material cost, employee cost, and your next overheads, and the concept of ABC, recording and the accounting of cost, which is equals to around 41 to 47%, which covers almost your 40 to 50% syllabus. So you have to focus on each chapter, whether it is material, employee, or overhead, ABC, or the integration of data. Next is methods of costing, like unit costing, job costing, batch costing, process and operation costing, service sector costing, or maybe the operating cost. It covers around 24 to 30 marks. So you have to focus on each and every chapter. And if you think the practical chapter, only the practical question will be asked from the practical chapters. Theory question may also be asked from the practical chapter. So you have to cover the theory part also from the practical chapters also. Next is cost control and analysis part, which is commonly used in real life, like standard costing, which is basically nothing, the variance analysis. You have to prepare a budget, you have actual data, you have to compare those data, you have to take action according to those analysis. So it will use in your personal life also as well as in your professional life also. Next is marginal costing, which is nothing, a variable costing method, which basically used in whenever you are taking a decision related to make or buy, or the discontinuation of any product or any uh, product line or any segment, or when you are producing multi-product, which product should be discontinued. So this is basically your decision making chapter. You have to make decision for a company or for your own company as well, whether you have to continue any particular line or a particular product or any particular operation. Next is budget and budgetary control. Whenever you prepare a budget, you have to take the historical data. On the basis of historical data, you have to forecast for the future data. And once you prepare your budget, you have a particular data on which you can prepare the standard costing as well, and you can do the variance analysis once you have the forecasted data as well as the historical data. So all of these three chapters play an important role in your real life and your professional life, and as well as in your future.
And also nowadays, I think credit goes to you, man, that there are integrated question also, which slowly we have started giving. Maybe concept of two chapters are required, and in examination also you may get that kind of question. So those question in fact will require more conceptual clarity. Maybe something where a little bit of marginal costing and budgetary control is there, or standard and marginal is there. So these integrated question, when you are conceptually thorough, and generally these questions are not difficult, but two concepts are tested in one question, and you should be able to perform well in this kind of questions also, because these are somewhere or other involved in decision making. And variance analysis is done, I think, in all departments and all organization. So one of the very in fact budget also, and decision making short term particularly, is also taken in all kind of departments. So it's very important that you conceptually understand and apply this concept in real practical life. So very important that you go through these chapters very seriously.
And when you do the integrated question, you will see this type of question or this type of queries will be required in your real life. When you are doing anything for a company gives you a particular not give you any marginal costing data or the standard costing data. They will provide you a scenario. This is going in the company, and you have to provide the solution for those data or for those scenarios. So it will include everything: standard costing, marginal costing, and the budget, and as well as the other part of the costing. And one more important thing, if you want to prepare for the government exams or the PSC exams, most of the questions are asked from the costing part. So if you looking for the government exam in your future, you will prepare this subject thoroughly, and you have to clear a concept very clearly. So when you are attempting for the government exam, you don't have to be you don't have to just be, आपको कंफ्यूज नहीं होना पड़ेगा कि आप क्या है ये स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग में, मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग में क्या है. आप पूरे के पूरे क्लियर होंगे. आप जब एग्जाम दे रहे होंगे, आप बहुत इजीली उसको सॉल्व कर पाएंगे. Next is skill wise weightage. Level 1 is for the theoretical quotient. If you think a theoretical quotient doesn't have any value in the exam, it will cover your 20 to 30%, which is around 20 to 25 marks or 20 to 30 marks. So you have to focus on theory part also. These are the quotient which will help you to sometimes get exemption, or sometimes when you are on a 35 marks or 38 marks, this theoretical quotient when you are attempting in the last may provide you 4 marks, 5 marks or 10 marks, which will help you in passing the exam. And the next is numerical quotient, including the case scenarios, which covers the 70 to 80%. So you have to focus both theoretical quotient and the numerical quotients. This is the summary of distribution of marks, basically how question paper is designed. So question number 1 is compulsory. Case scenario based, as you know, is covers 30 marks. Next is descriptive question, in which question number 1 is compulsory of 14 marks. Next is question number 2 to 6, which may be asked including the theoretical question or the practical question, and one question is optional. So in this way, you have to prepare yourself how to attempt your question, which question you have to attempt first or second or third. Now this is basically a preparation strategies which you have to follow, basically what to study and what are the habits you have to follow while doing the preparation. So while preparing your subject, you have to read and practice your study material conceptually and thoroughly. Once you have cleared your study material, you have to go through all the practical question given the study material, RTPs, MTPs, previous year question papers. And once you have prepared your all the chapters, you can go through the saransh, which is basically a last mile referencer, basically a summary of each chapter, which may take your around 1 hour to cover, half hour to 1 hour to cover your one chapter. So once you are clear your chapter, you can go through the saransh in the last. And other things are normal things. Study according to your plan, according to your timetable, and make brief notes while preparing. And for the formulas, you will prepare own notes along with the saransh. When you prepare own notes, when you write anything, it will go through your mind and it will remain while you are answering a question. So you have to prepare your own notes along with the saransh. So when you are revising your own notes, it will maximum take your 10 to 15 minutes to cover one chapter from your own notes. Next is basically the general study guidelines. So we'll start with the chapter part. What are the introduction of cost and management accounting, which is basically a theoretical chapter. In this chapter, you have to go through each and every concept. You don't have to just learn everything. You just have to understand each and every concept. When you understand each and everything, you can write in the exam in your own language. But note one thing, जब भी आप लिख रहे होंगे तो आपका जो कॉन्सेप्ट होना चाहिए बुक से होना चाहिए, कॉन्सेप्ट बुक से बाहर का नहीं होना चाहिए. आपकी लैंग्वेज में हो ठीक है, वेल एंड गुड, लेकिन वो कॉन्सेप्ट बुक से बाहर का नहीं होना चाहिए. try to write those mandatory points which are given in the book and highlight those important points along with your own writing. So basically, this chapter is divided into the some part like scope of cost accounting, relationship of cost and management accounting, use of IT in costing. Basically, as you know, AI and the IT have taken the role of manual processing. So you have to focus on IT part also, how IT is covered in the costing, the who are the users of cost and management accounting, what are the role and the function of cost and management accounting, cost objects, and the cost classification, responsibility centers, etc. So
So here I think in the first chapter, number one concept of all the cost you should understand, like opportunity cost, conversion cost, engineering cost, and various type of sunk cost, shutdown cost, etc. So there may be conceptual question on that. Cost center, cost objective should be very clear to you. That what is the meaning of cost center, and what is the meaning of cost object, and what is the meaning of cost unit. Okay, so very clear, very well explained in the study material. It should be very, very clear to all of you. Role and function you will be able to understand once if you read and have the concept, you will be able to write also. Use of IT, we have given some introduction, but now there is a full-fledged digital costing. You know, costing how it is done through the various information technology tools or ERP system is there. So through ERP, how it is done. So in practical life, if you go to even, so let's say software companies, Oracle, just for an example, they have a full-fledged tool that how they go through this costing process, and it is all done through the ERP. Implementation of ERP, that's why many of the organization are doing nowadays, so that data can be derived at a very easy cost. Okay, for an example, if you want to identify and fetch information about certain vendors, so ERP will be able to provide you very easily their details, their address, their PAN number, their GSTN number, whatever detail you want. So those things has become very easy when the IT is integrated with costing. So costing is no longer a manual, independent, separate line of treatment of various items. It is integrated in the main part itself. Okay, and it has gained many important because the cost control has become very important. In the first unit, Mayank, I think cost control is another thing. There should be very, very, very thorough that what is cost control and how this cost control can be done in your organization. So that is another question generally we see in the examination. And you practice, you just see last 4, 5, 6 attempt, you will have an idea that what kind of question is coming from this particular chapter.
types of cost is one of the main questions asked in
Yes,
the exam.
type of cost, cost classification based on managerial part, that is the sunk cost and other costs. So sometime they will be asking example, cost center, cost object. So these are some of the question, and very easily you will be fetching the full marks. So theoretical question, 4 marks, 2 marks question will be there, and you can get a full marks very, very easily. Next.
So
What I
next,
was saying, that cost control and cost reduction.
yes.
So what is the difference between cost control and cost reduction? Please be very clear. And you should be able to have 4, 5 points, and you should be able to write down that what do you mean by cost reduction and what is the meaning of cost control, where cost reduction may not be there, but how it can be done. So that's all about the first chapter. Second chapter, it's having different segment, very important chapter I feel for costing things. Number one, when we are procuring the material, when we are purchasing the material, जब हम खरीदते हैं material, बहुत सारे डॉक्यूमेंट हमारे लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है, जैसे कि बिल्स ऑफ मटेरियल बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. MRN, GRN. MRN means what? Material requisition note, and then goods received note. Then purchase requisition. If there is any material return, how that material return will be done in the books of accounts, how it will be recorded, and how nowadays we are procuring through GEM. For an example, we at ICAI, we procure you can see the laptops and various other things through the GEM portal. Okay. So government e-marketplace where these are there, where there is standardized rate and everything, and things become very easy, for us to do it. Then the second part, there is inventory control. So various level are there, minimum level, maximum level, average level, and how this level can be maintained, when you have to give your reorder, what you have to do for your stock out situation, which type of industry should have which type of inventory level policy. Like for an example, last time we were discussing in one of the question, if you are electronics company, if you are IT company, you ideally you should be having a stock not more than your maximum level anytime. In fact, you should be operating at an average level so that any new item comes with new features. Mobile, for an example. So this may be a 3-4 years old mobile, but lot of new changes has come, and customers always want the latest one where the new technology is embedded, new processor are there, new improvements are there. So accordingly, you need to adopt. See, you can learn concept, but practically you have to apply your mind that what kind of inventory level you will have in your industry. Some of the industry, the availability may not be that frequent. Availability may be scarce, so you need to have little bit of extra of that material in your kitty. And nowadays supply chain has become so smooth that even the import is not difficult. So you should have a optimum level of inventory. You should not have stock out situation. At the same time, you should not have excess of inventory. Excess of inventory का मतलब क्या है? More fund will be blocked. और stock out situation का मतलब क्या है? Customers will be going out from you. So दोनों में से कोई भी नहीं कर सकते हो. So you have to maintain a very optimum level. And ये सिर्फ मैथमेटिकल फॉर्मूला के ऊपर डिपेंड नहीं करेगा, ये आपके कंसेप्ट के ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा, ये आपके इंडस्ट्री के ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा, उसका नेचर के ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा. So somehow we talk about AI today. Also in the morning we were discussing about AI, but it cannot replace the human mind, because human mind only can. They will calculate and tell you, okay, this is the level you should maintain. But then according to the situation, according to the factors, yes, they can also take certain factors into account, but it is the human mind who can take a superior control on that. In this chapter, some of the theoretical part is also very important. I will not say theoretical, I will say conceptual. Treatment of waste, scrap, spoilage, defective obsolescence, very important. And in general, any of the abnormal losses will be treated to costing PL. It will be transferred to costing PL, and normally normal loss will be absorbed by the good unit produced. This is the normal rule. Rest you can see, like obsolescence, everything is abnormal, so it will go to costing PL. Waste, scrap, spoilage, defective, what is the difference? What is the different treatment? Then bin card, stores ledger. What is the difference between bin card and stores ledger? And at last, you can see the valuation of material, LIFO, FIFO, average, and weighted average. Weighted average is most popular one. LIFO generally we do not follow. FIFO is also having certain disadvantages and advantages, but we have to decide that which technique we should be following. And there are certain things which is prescribed under Accounting Standard 2 and Indian Accounting Standard 2. That is not part of this syllabus, but you can integrate this with your accounting syllabus, right? So this is basically chapter 2. I think it's a blend of theory and numerical. Good conceptual and theoretical part is also there. You will see many times it comes in examination, and certain numericals are also there. So I think, Mayank, this is a very important chapter for the students.
Specifically for the manufacturing and the trading companies.
Yes, for the manufacturing and trading companies, this is very important, and how you manage probably will be helping you to control your cost and to save few penny as well. Next. Loss of treatment, yes, bolo.
Yes, so loss of treatment, as sir already said, it will not only theoretically important, it will basically help in your real life practical scenarios as well. Waste, what is the difference between the waste, scrap, spoilage, and the defectives? So when you listen these words, you think all are same, but all have different meanings. What is the meaning of waste? You have to go through it. What is the meaning of scrap, spoilage, and defective? When you understand what are those the what are these terms, you can understand how it will be treated. Like what is the normal wastage, what is the abnormal wastage, how the normal scrap is treated, how is abnormal scrap is treated, similarly for spoilage, defective, and the obsolescence. So you have to go through all of these topics thoroughly, and if you have any doubt, you can look for the real life examples. You can deep down think of a manufacturing company when you anything go through a process, how a waste is generated, how a scrap is generated, and how it will be treated in the company. So you have to go through it. Anything, sir?
No, that's fine. I think this is also very important. The treatment already I told you, and you can click a photograph of this, and you can prepare, write down in your own words in your notebook. I think that will be sufficient. This, and exactly this is there in the book, in the study material, but this is the summary, and this is the way you should prepare your notes as well. We're just trying to help you in preparing it, but this is the way you should be preparing. So whole material chapter notes may be of 4 pages only, and many times you will be revising that and you practice your question. So it's not that difficult if you follow a system. If you study systematically, things is going to be much more easier. Next chapter. Yeah, you can just these are some of the problems you may face, but I think many of you already knows it. Calculation of carrying cost and holding cost is very important. A lot of time this I is given per month, so that be very careful. Carrying cost is given sometime as percentages, so that you should be very careful. Annual consumption calculation is very important. Sometime it is given weekly, monthly, but ultimately if you are talking about annual consumption, you have to convert those into an annual day only. And generally we take 360 days. Daily if it is given, you should take 360 or 365. If weekly it is given, then you should take 52 weeks. And yearly if it is given, then obviously there is no issue in that.
So basically, employee cost is nothing labor costing chapters in which we have to do the basically the accounting of the employee cost or the labor cost, and how the bonus is paid to the employee, how we can improve the efficiencies of employee, and what is the labor turnover rates, what are the ways in which we can calculate the labor turnover. So
here also the treatment of overtime premium and idle time. Idle times are two: normal idle time and abnormal idle time. And if you see, this is exactly it is described in a very short and sweet way. Normal idle time, you can see people are having a lunch, breakfast, tea time, going to restroom, etc., which could be avoided, which could be reduced. But there is a saying that you should not be reducing it too much that your employees get stressed. So this idle time, if it is going on smoothly in your organization, it's a good sign that people are spending a little bit of time for normal rest, breakfast, lunch, resting time, particularly in factory. A lot of resting is required who are operating in bigger machineries. There are certain industry, for an example, glass industry, very risky work. Some of the manufacturing industry where there are a lot of lathe machines, so very risky work. So resting is required. Whether a machine should be operated in night or not, that also to be seen. Or whether it may be risky in operating that, because that we should be able to protect our labor as well, our employees as well. And then there can be abnormal idle time like fire, strike, any of the war failure. Today there is a warning of tsunami in certain part. of the world. We saw the news in the morning. So obviously that can be another, abnormal idle time. It's fine. Yeah, and it can be charged in costing PL without any doubt. And similarly, you also this you can click a photograph. You also prepare your notes for overtime treatment, overtime premium, and overtime prepared treatment. Once you write down and then you read that one only. And please prepare your notes in your own handwriting. That will help you in a big way, right? These are certain formulas which is given, like how time based, how output based is given, and bonus based. Only two technique you need to do, and you should be thankful that there were many. I think Mayank, when you have done,
Yes.
there were a lot of other bonus techniques were there, Merrick, differential, Taylor, but those has been eliminated now, and only two premium bonus method are applicable. One is Halsey and one is Ravan. And at one point of situation, both Halsey and Ravan will give you the equal amount of bonus. That is 50%. When you are saving 50%, your time saved and time allowed is 50%. So then, both the situation, your things will be given at equal one. When you are talking about the turnover techniques, three techniques you should know, you should remember, and you should practice enough number of a question: replacement, separation, flask. Then what are the different ways you can calculate it and how it can be done. Okay, so those is again another very important numerical part you should practice. So some theoretical concept and some numerical concept you can practice from this chapter.
So next is turnover methods. There are different turnover methods: replacement method, separation method, and the flux method. You will go through the replacement and the separation. Student have doubt in the flux method. What is flux method? This is nothing but a combination of replacement plus separation method. And when you have cleared what is the meaning of employee separated, employee replaced, and employee on roll, you can easily go through this from the study material and solve each and every question easily when it comes in the exam. Sometimes question is asked directly. You have been given the number of employee replaced, separated, or employees on roll. Sometimes you have given the two figures and what is the percentage of number of employees separated or the number of employees replaced. You have to calculate the missing figure. So in this way, you have to practice each and every question from the different perspective. And you can take the screenshot of this for your formula sheet, and you can also write all this formula in your own writing. So this is about the employee chapter. Basically, some important part are only
Already told them.
Idle time, overtime wages, premium methods.
Overtime premium also. Please read overtime premium also. There is a specific treatment.
Yes. And then
And blanket over it, that will be part later on. So that also you please concentrate. I did not mention it at the beginning.
so next chapter, overheads, one of the most important chapter. So there is classification of overheads on the basis of functions, nature, element, or by control. Basically, as you know, the functions, the manufacturing function or the office function or the admin function in the selling and distribution department, by nature, it may be the fixed, variable, or semi-variable. You can easily calculate your fixed part, variable part. When you are calculating a semi-variable part, you have to use a particular method. And sometimes you have to understand what is semi-variable cost. Sometimes you get confused it with the variable part. You thought it was a variable cost, but you have to understand whether it is a semi-variable part or the variable part. And by element, it may be the indirect material, employee, or indirect expenses. And the one most important part of this chapter is the controllable cost and the uncontrollable cost. Sometimes you give much importance to your uncontrollable cost, and since those are uncontrollable, you can't do anything for those costs. You have to focus on controllable costs, which can be reduced or which can be maintained at a particular level. So you have to focus on the controllable costs which can be reduced. Now, the one of the most important portion asked in the exam is basically the apportionment of overheads and the reapportionment of overheads. How there are different methods for the reapportionment, like a direct method or the step method, reciprocal method. And in reciprocal method, three methods are given: simultaneous equation method, trial and error method, and the repeated distribution method. So you have to try each and every question for all of these methods.
And here, most important, I think, is the reciprocal service. It's not important from exam point of view only, but it's also important for practical purposes, because you can prepare simultaneous equation. You can solve the questions in many ways. Trial and error is there, but simultaneous equation, I feel, Mayank, is the most important way they should practice.
Absolutely.
So more number of question you should practice regarding simultaneous equation, and make sure that your overhead distribution and total overhead will not change. So how you will come to know that your solution is correct? Because total overhead will not change. The secondary, the service department overhead will be charged to the primary distribution, to the manufacturing overhead, and ultimately you will see the total will be remaining the same, but service department overhead will be charged based on these situations. So practice many question. And in this chapter also there is machine hour rate, the calculation of machine hour rate. So that is another very important part which you should be following.
And one more important thing from this slide is sometimes many students got confused between the allocation, absorption, and the apportionment.
Correct.
You have to understand what is the meaning of allocation, apportionment, and the absorption. Allocation is nothing when you are given a particular cost which can be directly attributable to any department or the cost center. It is basically nothing, the allocation. Now the difference come between the apportionment and the absorption. Apportionment is basically the dividing the cost on the basis of any cost and effect relationship, or on the basis of benefit received, or any other suitable basis, or sometimes it may be given a particular ratio on the basis of which it is divided between the departments. And now the last part, which covers the absorption. Now the cost is divided on a actual unit on a particular predetermined rate. So there is a difference in allocation and absorption and the apportionment. You have to go through all of these concepts thoroughly. Next is nothing, the
only
overhead
machine hour
rates.
rate.
Yeah.
Only machine hour rate.
Machine hour rate is important, and sometimes if a company is a labor oriented, you have to focus on labor hour method also,
Which is traditional costing basically, or absorption costing based on labor. So when you will be doing AVC, you will be calculating based on traditional and based on AVC, and you will try to find out the comparison between the two.
and
This I was talking about blanket overhead. Please, man, carry on.
yes. So these are the normal rates, and the other blanket and the predetermined rates. Sir is talking about the blanket rate.
And
So
there are two type of questions, particularly one type of question which comes in examination regarding the treatment. Please practice those kind of question. It is in study material, it is in previous year question as well. Please practice it thorough. There should not be any chances of doing mistakes. This is the additional things which you learn when you will be attending this kind of webcast.
So these are the important points which I've already covered.
Yes. Just you can finish this ABC. So activity-based costing, which is just related to traditional costing. So, here the cost allocation is done based on the driver. So just for an example, I want to calculate the printing cost. of a particular department. Now I can do on that how much space is occupied by the departments, etc., etc. But if I can do it based on number of printout, so let's say we are having various departments. BOS is one department, and per printout cost is 5, and BOS has taken 10,000 printout. So 10,000 into 5, 50,000 cost will be will be posted to the BOS department. So based on this inspection hours, for an example, machine hours, for an example, based on a certain driver, the cost will be allocated. And this activity-based costing is possible when there is an automation where you can find out the cost driver and accordingly you can calculate. Very, very accurate technique of calculating the cost, and many of the manufacturing industry and service industry are following that. Yes, it's the costly one, you need automation, but if cost is important, for an example, Mayank, Apollo tire or MRF tire, where number of tire is huge, 200-250 तरीके का टायर वो लोग बनाते हैं. सो कुछ ओवरहेड कॉस्ट ऐसे होगा आप एलोकेट कर ही नहीं सकते हो इन द अंडर ट्रेडिशनल कॉस्टिंग. कॉमन होती है तो बहुत ज्यादा कॉमन हो जाता है, और छोटे छोटे डिफरेंस में बिकॉज योर कंपटीटर्स आर ऑन योर नेक. सो आपको इस तरीके से उस कॉस्ट को कैलकुलेट करना पड़ेगा कि आपका जो एक्चुअल कॉस्ट है दैट शुड बी करेक्ट वन, सो दैट मार्केट में आप एक्चुअल रेट में आप बेच पाओगे. अगर आपका कॉस्टिंग ठीक नहीं है तो आपका प्राइस भी ठीक नहीं होगा. प्राइस ठीक नहीं होगा, आपको पता भी नहीं लगेगा कि आपका प्रॉफिट हो रहा है या लॉस हो रहा है. एक्चुअल में आपको लगेगा कि आपको प्रॉफिट हो रहा है, बट मे बी इट इज योर लॉस. सो आपको बहुत केयरफुल होकर आपका कॉस्ट कैलकुलेशन करना पड़ेगा, एंड एक्टिविटी बेस्ड कॉस्टिंग विल टीच अस to calculate the cost accurately and how we can do it. You can take a question.
Yeah. So we'll take a question from the recent MTP. Just give me a minute.
Yeah. Wait for a moment.
Tech team. There is some issue in sharing. I shared the
Sharing stop.
It's 5.
So we'll start with a question related to the cost and management accounting. So first para is basically the nothing, the introduction of a company, how it is working, and how it is doing how it is doing their accounting, and the how it's maintaining its account. So take your 2 minutes. You can start with the second para for reading. So I will tell you the important information from the second para. The company spends rupees 1,30,000 on purchasing direct material. So direct material cost is rupees 1,30,000. And the next is direct labor is rupees 90,000. You can go through this. And overheads, or the basically the direct expenses, not the overheads, which is rupees 30,000. These are the important information from both of this para. So when you are going through a case scenario, you have to first go through the MCQs or the questions, then you will go through the case scenario. In this way, you know the requirements of the question. एंड जब आपको रिक्वायरमेंट्स पता होती है, तो आप जब क्वेश्चन रीड कर रहे होंगे, केस सिनेरियो रीड कर रहे होंगे, तो आपको पता होगा मुझे क्या क्या डाटा की नीड है, तो आप वो हाईलाइट करते हुए, मार्क करते हुए आप वहां पे चलोगे कि ये डाटा है। आप एक साइड में एक स्क्रबलिंग करते हुए कि डायरेक्ट मटेरियल मेरी 1,30,000 है, डायरेक्ट लेबर मेरी 90,000 है, डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंसेस मेरे 30,000 है, तो आप इस बेसिस पे आप आगे क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर पाओगे। तो आपको ये माइंड में ध्यान रखना है एग्जाम देते वक्त कि आपको स्क्रबल करते वक्त अपना डाटा निकालते हुए चलना है केस सिनेरियोस में से। रीड दिस पेज।
ओपनिंग स्टॉक, WIP, सारे चीजें अच्छे से देखो।
So we'll start with the question. Next is, we have been given the overhead amount of rupees 60,000, including all indirect manufacturing expenses. Admin overheads are rupees 20,000. Selling and distribution overheads are rupees 10,000, and development cost. In the next para, we have been given the inventory information. The opening stock of raw material is 50,000. WIP inventory is start at rupees 15,000, which is basically nothing, the opening stocks, and increase to rupees 35,000, which is the basically closing stock. For finished goods, the company maintains an opening stock of rupees 30,000 and the closing stock of rupees 25,000. And now there's some other information given. Like the company has successfully produced 4,000 units, and out of these 4,000 units, 3,800 units are sold at a price of 100 per unit. Now, the most important information in which you get confused is related to the FIFO method. In this, you have been given the some quantities purchased at rupees 10, some is purchased at rupees 12. So we'll read the para. During the period, the price of raw material fluctuated. At the beginning of the period, the price was rupees 10 per unit. Midway through the period, the price increased to rupees 12 per unit, and the company could only purchase 10,000 per unit at a price of rupees 10 per unit. You have to note this point. You can only purchase 10,000 unit at a price of rupees 10. Next is raw material consumed was 14,000 units. So since you have purchased the 10,000 unit at rupees 10, you have some opening stock. You have to find those unit which were purchased at rupees 12 per unit. So the company follow the FIFO method. Now I'll start with the MCQs. What is the value of closing stock? So here you are required to calculate the number of units which are purchased at a cost of rupees 12 and how much units is of the closing stocks. So we'll go in the solution. So since we have purchased the 10,000 unit at 10 rupees per unit, and the cost of these units are rupees 12 lakhs, and it is already given in the initial part of the question, we have purchased direct material or direct material cost is of rupees 1,30,000, and we have purchased 10,000 units at rupees 10. So the remaining cost for rupees 12 per unit is 30,000 rupees. And when we divide the 30,000 rupees by 12, we got the 2,500 units. So total unit purchase is for rupees is total unit purchase is 12,500 units, and we have given the opening stock value of rupees 50,000 and 10 rupees is for the per unit. We have the 5,000 units in the opening stocks. Now the total units available for the production is 17,500 units, and the actual unit consumed in the production is 14,000 units. So the difference is basically the closing stock. You got the difference. You have purchased the 2,500 unit at rupees 12. So the remaining 1,000 units are purchased at a price of rupees 10 per unit. In this way, you can calculate the closing stock value, which comes to rupees 40,000. This is the main part of the solution. Other part is you can directly calculate the other part. Other part do not have any much calculation. When you get the closing stock value, you can calculate the remaining part like cost of production, the cost of sales, or cost of goods sold. So if you have any doubt in this part, you may ask.
Kaustubh, do you have any question? Kaustubh को enable करो. Yes, Kaustubh. बोलो बेटा. Enable कर दिया उसको.
So the next requirement of the question is cost of production. As we have already calculated the closing stock, we have given the other part of the information directly. we can calculate the cost of production, which include the basically the prime cost, factory overheads, quality control cost, research and development cost, opening WIP, and while calculating the cost of production, we'll deduct the closing WIP. So we'll go through the answer. The prime cost include the direct material consumed, direct labor, and the direct expenses. We are directly given the direct material cost, which is rupees 1,40,000. The direct labor cost, which is rupees 90,000, and the direct expenses, which is rupees 30,000. The factory overhead is already given the rupees 60,000. Quality control cost is rupees 5,000, and the research and development cost is rupees 10,000. And while adjusting the WIP, we got a net closing WIP of rupees 20,000. In this way, we can calculate the COP, cost of production, 3,15,000. So this is a very normal or a very general portion of cost of production, and which is easily calculated. So we'll take a next question. The cost of goods sold. Now we have already calculated the cost of production. Now you can easily calculate the cost of goods sold. You may know the cost of production. When we add the net stock of finished goods, we get the cost of goods sold. In cost of production plus opening stock of finished goods minus closing stock of finished goods is equals to the cost of goods sold. So we have already calculated the cost of production, which is 3,15,000. We are given the cost of basically the cost of opening stock of finished goods and the cost of closing stock of finished goods, which is 30,000 for the opening stock and the 25,000 for the closing stock. So you may get the value of 3,20,000. The next requirement is the cost of sales. So when you know the cost sheet, you know this, go through a line. You have to calculate the cost of production first. When you adjust for the closing or the opening stock of finished goods, you get the cost of goods sold. When you add the admin overheads and the selling overheads, you get the cost of sales. So in this question, you have the cost of goods sold of rupees 3,20,000, admin overheads of rupees 20,000, and the selling and distribution overheads of rupees 10,000, which comes to rupees 3,50,000. Now you are being asked for the cost per unit of goods sold. Now you know the cost of goods sold, which is rupees 3,20,000. You know 3,800 units are sold. In this way, you get the 84 rupees 21 paisa for the cost per unit of goods sold. So I don't think you have any query or you find any difficulty in all of these parts. This is basically nothing the cost sheet. So if you have any doubt, you may ask. So it will hardly take your 15 minutes to 20 minutes to solve this case scenario, and you can easily get your 10 marks. So we'll go through the second case scenario related to the budget. You may go through the information given in the question. So first para provide you the information regarding the company and the company product. The company is producing a product X, which is a pre-packed consumer item. And for producing a product X, you required some raw material, which is a raw material X, Y, and Z. So all the information is given, how much unit are required to produce 1 unit of X, how much bags are required to produce in producing 1 unit of X. So we will go through the information. Company expect to sell 50,000 bags of X during the second quarter. So you are given an information of a 1 quarter, which is the second quarter of 2025, and the selling price is rupees 9 per bag of X. And each bag of X required 2.5 kg of raw material Y and the 7.5 kg of raw material Z. And you also required an empty bag. So when you are selling a product, you are required a packaging product. It may be a bag or a box. In this case, you are required an empty bag to sell per unit of X. We are given the information of stocks level of finished goods of finished bags of X, raw material Y, and the raw material Z in the beginning of quarter and the end of quarter. We will use this information while preparing a budget. Now we are given the cost of per unit of Y and the Z. The per unit of Y cost rupees 1.2 per kg and the Z cost 20 paisa per kg and the empty bag cost rupees 80 paisa each. Now the direct material cost already gone through, and now the direct labor and the variable manufacturing and the variable selling overhead cost and the fixed manufacturing and the fixed admin overhead cost is given in the question. It requires, that is each unit of X required 9 minutes of direct labor and to fill 1 bag of X, and the labor cost is rupees 9 per hour. So you can calculate the cost for 9 minutes. Now the variable manufacturing cost is rupees for 45 paisa or the 0.5 rupees per bag, and the manufacturing cost, which is fixed, is rupees 30,000 per quarter. The variable selling and the admin overheads are 5.5% of the sales, and the fixed overhead related to the admin and the selling is rupees 25,000 per quarter. So now you are being asked for some requirements. You are required to calculate the production of X in the second quarter or the required production of X. So in this, you are required to prepare a production budget. 50,000 units. We are given the closing stock value of 11,000 bags. Now the total requirement which required to be produced is 61,000. And since we have already the opening stocks of 15,000 units, you get the net required production of 46,000 units. So this is a very direct question. It will hardly take your 1 to 2 minutes to calculate this requirement, and you easily got 2 marks. Now the second requirement of the question. What is the quantity to be purchased for Y, Z and empty bags? So in this requirement, you are required to prepare a purchase budget for Y, Z and the empty bag. And in next requirement, you are required to calculate the cost of those quantity purchased for Y, Z and the empty bag. So raw material purchase budget in quantity as well as in rupees for, since we are producing 46,000 units or the required production is of 46,000 units of bag. Accordingly, we will use the quantities of Y, Z and the empty bags. अगर आपको कोई भी प्रोडक्शन की यूनिट्स गिवन है और आपको गिवन है कि एक पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट को बनाने के लिए हमें किसी मटेरियल की 2.5 kg की जरूरत है, 7.5 kg की जरूरत है, एंड हमें एक एम्प्टी बैग की जरूरत है जिसमें हम उसकी पैकेजिंग करके सेल कर पाए. सो इट इज वेरी easy. You can calculate the requirement. Since material Y required 2.5 kg for producing 1 unit of X, the total quantity comes to 1,15,000 units. For Z, it is 7.5 kg. Now for 46,000 units, you are required to 3,45,000 kg of Z, and for 46,000 unit of X, you require 46,000 bags. You are given the closing stock of Y, Z, and the empty bags, which is 26,000 for Y, 47,000 for Z, and the 28,000 units of empty bags. Now the total requirement is given 1,41,000, 3,92,000 for Z, and the 74,000 for empty bags. You are given the opening stock, you will deduct the opening stock from the requirements, you get the quantity to be purchased. So it will hardly take your 3 to 4 minutes. When you scribble it in the question paper, it will hardly take your 2 minutes to answer those requirements. So the quantity purchase is 1,09,000 kgs of Y, 3,35,000 kgs of Z, and the 37,000 units of empty bags. You are given the cost per kg and the cost per bag. You will multiply these costs with the quantity purchased. You'll get the cost of purchase. So in this way, you get the 4 marks very easily if you know how to prepare a raw material purchase budget or a purchase budget. So what is the next requirement of the question? What is the budgeted variable cost of producing 1 bag of X, and what is the budgeted net income for the second quarter? For net income, you are required to calculate, you are required to take all the costs, but when before calculating all your costs, you have to firstly calculate your variable cost so that you will get the 2 marks for question number 9. As you know, raw material is a variable cost and the direct labor is also a variable cost. So, you know, for producing 1 unit of X, you require a 2.5 kg of Y, 7.5 kg of Z, and 1 empty bag. You have been given the information related to its cost for per kg of Y and Z. In this way, you calculate the total cost of Y, total cost of Z, and the empty bag for producing 1 unit. Since for producing 1 unit of X, you require 9 minutes of direct labor hour, and 5 rupees is for the 60 minutes. In this way, you can calculate the cost for 9 minutes, which comes to rupees 75,000 units. Variable manufacturing overhead is already given in the question. Variable cost of production you can calculate per bag, which comes to 6.5 per unit of X. This is a very easy question. You can directly calculate in the question paper or in your rough paper.
And whenever you will be solving this MCQs from the case scenario, it's very important that you should not be presenting the way we have shown it. You can scribble it. Basically, you need to attempt the correct question or correct answer. You have to take the correct answer. For that, how much is calculation required? You please do that. And even some of the step you can do it verbally. You continue to do that. So wherever verbally you are not able to do it, you scribble it. So that will save a lot of your time. Mind you, when case scenario, understand, read the question very carefully, and finally what you should try to do is ticking the question carefully, ticking the question correctly, the answer correctly. So that's very important. So understanding the question, understand the concept behind that question, and then you reduce your time in presenting calculation, etc. So that will save a lot of time. what Mayank told, that that some of the steps even you can do on your answer sheet in the rough work. I think on the question paper it is not allowed. So on the answer sheet in the rough work you can write down, and then accordingly you can do it. So that will save a lot of your time, because I have seen in the last few batches that feedback has come that time management is very difficult in this particular paper, since it's almost a numerical paper. But case scenario, you have to reduce time. So maybe Mayank, I think they should take 30-35 minutes in the case scenario section. So two case scenario, maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes, another 10 minutes for the balance question. So 40 minutes should be ideal. In maximum way, you can go to 45 minutes. This is not a rule. This is our suggestions only. You can do in your own way.
You can reduce it or you can increase.
If you can reduce it, you can put the balance time on the descriptive question. But why you are giving importance to the case scenario question? Because it is having 30 marks. So very important. And if you can score a very like 27, 28, 29, 30 out of these 30 marks, that will help you to reach 50, 60 very easily. Last theoretical question, there is a time shortage, you can always attempt that. I told you the concept from where the question generally comes. So to the points, if you write and attempt that particular question at last 14 marks question, it will hardly take 10 to 12 minutes. So 40 minutes plus 10 to 12 minutes, 50 to 55 minutes will give you around 44 marks.
And if you are able to get 30 to 35 marks in those 1 hour, you already got your passing marks. You just have to attempt 2 or 3 questions to cover 40 marks. And if you are looking for exemption, you can easily got exemption. If you can solve 3 to 4 questions correctly, you can easily get your exemption.
And also I will request you, you don't try to pass this examination only, but you try to score maximum out of this subject. So maybe 60, 65 around if you can get, it will put a lot of, less pressure on you while scoring in auditing, which may not be that easy. I think you all will agree.
It will.
So that pressure will be reduced. And then finance and strategic management, again, you can target. So 60, 60, 50, then also it comes to 170, which can give a very easy way of clearing the examination. It's all said, but it's sometimes difficult to practically implement it, and that's why you have to do it. And you have to think, you have to strategize yourself. Not only you study, but you study smartly and you strategize your priority. And still we are having today at end of July, we have today again 1 month is there. So any conceptual difficulties, some of the students we have gone through of late, last 10-15 days I have interacted, they also lack concept. Mind you, concept you try to improve, but at the same time you practice also. Practice also will help you to improve your concept. And concept also will help you in practicing the questions in a better way. कुछ चीजें ऐसे क्लियर नहीं होता है, बार बार किताब पढ़ने से भी नहीं होता है. जब आप क्वेश्चन करोगे ना, फिर आप देखोगे कि वो चीजों कैसे होता है, आपको समझ में आएगा. जैसे कि एग्जाम्पल होता है ना, हम लोग बहुत बार एग्जाम्पल देते हैं. When we put the example, then we understand the things in a easier way. So आपको इस तरीके से क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस करोगे ना, ट्रीटमेंट नहीं समझ में आ रहा है किसी का, कॉस्ट शीट में किसी का ट्रीटमेंट नहीं समझ में आ रहा है. मैंने आपको बताया कि एडमिन ओवरहेड का 2 ट्रीटमेंट होता है. एक होता है फैक्ट्री ओवरहेड में, एक होता है जनरल ओवरहेड में. सर समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, आप क्वेश्चन करो, प्रैक्टिस भी करो. करेक्ट मैम? सो दैट विल इंप्रूव बोथ द थिंग्स. तो आपको एफिशिएंसी आपका बढ़ाना है और डरना नहीं है. डरना नहीं है. बहुत सारे लोगों को हमने देखा है स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग से डरते हैं या प्रोसेस कॉस्टिंग से डरते हैं. क्वेश्चन में जो आपका अकाउंट होता है प्रोसेस का, वो बनाने में डर. कोई डरने की बात ही नहीं है. सिंपल लॉजिक से आप क्वेश्चंस को कैलकुलेट करो, और जितना प्रैक्टिस करोगे उतना आपके लिए. जो 2 ग्रुप दे रहे हो, एडवांस अकाउंट्स हैं आपके साथ, टैक्सेशन है आपके साथ, बट साथ साथ ये भी है आपका. अगर सेकंड ग्रुप दे रहे हो, कॉस्टिंग फाइनेंस भी है, टैक्स का 2 पेपर है, डायरेक्ट और इनडायरेक्ट दोनों है. तो आपको अपना प्रायोरिटीज फिक्स करना है, आपको वेटेज फिक्स करना है. ओनली थिंग आई वुड लाइक टू से दैट अगर आपका प्रायोरिटीज में बहुत ज्यादा सिर्फ वही सब्जेक्ट रहते हैं, और इसको आप उतना प्रायोरिटी नहीं देते हो, इसको उतना अच्छे से आप नहीं देखते हो, ये आसान नहीं होगा आपके लिए. So you cannot ignore this subject at all, and you need to practice, you need to clear your concept. और बाकी कोई भी क्वेरी हो, आई थिंक हमारे जो पोर्टल है उसके थ्रू वट एवर क्वेरी वी गेट्स, CM Mayank, your sir is very categorically answer those, and आपको आपको आंसर मिल जाएगा वट एवर योर डाउट इज देयर. एक ईमेल आईडी भी है cma-inter करके, आप लोगों को बताइए cma-inter@ICAI.in, उसमें भी आप क्वेरी करोगे तो आपको रिप्लाई मिलेगा. टेलीफोन नंबर 0120304519, उसमें भी आप टेलीफोन करोगे तो भी आपको रिप्लाई मिलेगा. सो वी आर देयर टू हेल्प यू इन ऑल रेस्पेक्ट, जो भी आपको हेल्प चाहिए होगा, बट इट इज यू हु हैव टू कम फॉरवर्ड with your suggestions, with your ideas that how you should improve your skill. कोई पर्टिकुलर चैप्टर के बारे में इफ यू कैन लेट अस नो दैट किसी पर्टिकुलर चैप्टर में आपका डिफिकल्टी हो रहा है. एनीबडी इज देयर, यू कैन सी. कौस्तभ, एक बार ट्राई कर सकते हो बात करने के लिए, लास्ट टाइम आपने माइक खोला था. मिस्टर कौस्तभ, if you can open your mic, yes. Can you speak please? Okay, I think you are unable to speak probably, but do let us know if you have any query. Mank, I think 2 chapter I will request you to go through. One is standard costing and
Yeah.
one is marginal costing, and then we'll end the session. So these are some of the questions which was there, but obviously this is not a full-fledged class. इंटीग्रेटेड नॉन इंटीग्रेटेड में रिकॉन्सिलेशन बहुत अच्छे से करना है.
Ostap, you want to
Hello.
speak?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
बोलो बेटा,
Am
बोलो.
I audible, sir, now?
Yes, audible.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, in recent attempt now, May 25, I got 144 marks in Group 2. Okay. And in MCQ
Okay.
section, I got 68 out of 90 and 76 out of remaining 210. So I'm not getting what should I do now? I think I'm conceptually clear, but what strategy according to you I should adopt to score more?
प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस करो आप. इलस्ट्रेशंस जो स्टडी मटेरियल में है वो तो कर ही डालो, और प्रीवियस ईयर के जो 4-5-6 टर्म का क्वेश्चन है बेटा, मॉक टेस्ट जो सजेस्टेड आंसर्स हैं उसको आप करो. फिर 1-2 टर्म का आरटीपी एमटीपी ले लो. एमटीपी पर्टिकुलरली, नॉट ओनली ये टर्म का, अभी तो एक एमटीपी हमने रिलीज कर दिया, प्रीवियस 2 टर्म का भी एमटीपी ले लो आप, और उसको कोशिश करो 3 घंटे में आपको उसको सॉल्व करने के लिए. आपकी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है कॉन्सेप्चुअल, नहीं तो आप एमसीक्यू में स्कोर नहीं कर पाते. सो आपको जो लैक करता है मेरे ख्याल से, दैट इज ओनली द प्रैक्टिस. सो थोड़ा सा इसको प्रैक्टिस के ऊपर आप ध्यान दो. नोबडी कैन स्टॉप यू पासिंग दिस एग्जामिनेशन. आप थोड़ा प्रैक्टिस करो, थोड़ा टिपिकल क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस करो जिसमें 1-2 एडजस्टमेंट थोड़े अलग से हो, और किताब के जो भी क्वेश्चन है आप उसको तो कर डालो पूरा. सो आपका जो डिस्क्रिप्टिव क्वेश्चन है, और थोड़े थोड़े कंसेप्चुअल पार्ट को करो ताकि थियोरेटिकल क्वेश्चन आए तो वो भी आप लिख पाओगे. सो वहां से भी आपको मार्क्स थोड़े से मिल जाएंगे. जो 14 क्वेश्चन है 14 मार्क्स का है, अगर आप वो भी अटेम्प्ट करते हो 10-12 वहां से भी आ जाएंगे. और कुछ चैप्टर को आप बिल्कुल बहुत अच्छा स्ट्रेंथ बनाओ. जो भी चैप्टर आपको लगता है इसमें, मे बी कॉस्ट शीट, जिसमें आपको फुल मार्क्स मिलना ही मिलना है, और बाकी सारे आपके कुछ चैप्टर्स के कंसेप्ट्स आप क्लियर करके उसके क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस करो. सो आई थिंक प्रैक्टिस एंड गिविंग अपीयरिंग इन मॉक टेस्ट पेपर, चाहे तो प्रीवियस ईयर की मॉक टेस्ट पेपर और एग्जाम कंडीशन में देना बेटा. At home, maybe you can ask somebody to monitor you that you are taking 3 hours. Because sometimes when you are appearing paper at home, we tend to relax a bit. वो नहीं करना है. So that's, I think, the Mayank, if you want to add anything.
Sir, since you are conceptually cleared, you are required to revise your all the formulas. Sometimes it may be when you are attempting a question paper, you just maybe got confused by, or you may take time to revise your formulas. So you have to revise your formula as much as possible. So while you are attempting a question, you will save your time for revising your formula or for reminding your formulas. And another thing is give less time to the theory part while attempting the question paper and give more time to the practical questions. So when you are attempting the theory question in the last 10 to 15 minutes, you may get some 10 marks or 8 marks or 7 marks out of 14. So you are getting good marks in case scenarios, you got 7, 8 or 10 marks in theoretical question. And when you are conceptually clear, you at least you will attempt all the questions in which at least your 3 to 4 questions are absolutely correct. In this way, you got the exemption. You will try to get the exemption in costing subject and in FM and SM subject, and you can compensate those marks with the auditing subject. So you will get your 150 marks very easily.
In fact, a lot more
Oh.
than that you can get. So I'm sure, Kaustav, you will give
Oh.
us good news this time, and you will clear this
Yeah.
examination. But please practice.
Yes, sir. Sure. Thank you, sir. And sir, one more doubt.
Yeah.
Costing me na, I got 53 marks, okay, in this attempt. But after evaluation, the answer sheet na, I evaluated ki in I wrote in one of the question 3 decimal points. I think equivalent per unit का question था, उसमें 5.30 ऐसा expected था, suggested answer में ऐसा लिखा था 5.30, but I have written 5.289. So the entire question went wrong. I guess they have given me 0 marks in that question. So how much decimal points is expected? I
नहीं,
think
आप 3 कर सकते
5.289 is
हो.
also okay na sir. 5.30 and 289 is
नहीं, आप उसको approximate कर दो, और if you want to write 5.30 in case of, if it is 5.2 and then more than 5, then you can write down 3 also. There is no issue. But 3 decimal writing is also not a crime.
but
Regarding
that is
devaluation, don't want to comment anything. But
okay, it's okay. Not an issue.
it's nothing wrong in doing that, what you have done. That only I can tell it to you.
Okay,
There
not an
will be
issue, sir.
little
I will
bit
try
of
my
plus and
best.
minus, but Kaustav, you put yourself in those, out of those things, where even plus minus few marks does not really matter to you. You put yourself in that category, and I'm 100% sure you will be able to do that.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I will try my best now in this attempt.
Right. Thank you
Yes,
for your question. Standard question.
thank you, sir. Yes.
So we'll start with the standard costing. This chapter is basically divided into the 3 parts: material cost variance, labor cost variance, and the overhead cost variance. In we don't have the sales variance in the intermediate part, so we have to cover only material, labor, and the overhead. Material, there is a 2 types: price and the usage. Usage is further into the mix and yield. While answering the question, I've seen the student got confused in the mix and the yield variance. They easily calculate the price variance, rate variance, but when it comes to the mix and the yield variance, they got confused in both labor and the material. So you have to practice more and more question of mix and yield. You have to understand what is mix, what is yield. They both are different. You got confused with the mix and the yield. Sometimes you apply the formula for yield in the mix and apply the formula of mix in the yield. So you have to conceptually clear yourself for the mix and the yield variance. And while preparing for the overhead variance, you don't find difficulty in the variable overhead variance, but while preparing for the fixed overhead variance, you got confused in the volume variance and the efficiency variance. Sometimes you got confused between the capacity and the calendar variance. Calendar variance is basically the nothing related to our days. capacity is different, efficiency is different, and these three are the part of the volume variance. And I don't think the student find difficulty in the expenditure variance. So this is basically a small table. You may take a screenshot of this table. So for mix and the yield variance, you have to understand what is the difference. For mix variance, you have to deduct the difference between the actual quantity in the standard proportion and the actual quantity in actual proportion multiplying with the standard price. And in yield variance, you have to calculate the difference between the standard quantity for the actual production and the actual quantity in the standard proportion. You are given the standard ratio of material used. Now you have to divide the actual quantity in those standard ratio. Now you have to multiply the standard price. In both mix and the yield variance, only the difference between is for the RSQ AQ and the SQ RSQ. Standard price will remain the same. You have to use standard price in mix and the yield variance. Similarly, for the labor efficiency variance, you have to divide the actual hours in the standard proportion, which is basically the revised standard hours, and the actual hours worked in the actual proportion. You have to take the actual hours worked, not actual hours paid. While calculating the difference between the actual hours worked and the paid, you will calculate the idle time variance. Since maybe you are working for the 12 hours or the 18 hours, but you are paid for the 10 hours, or it may be the 15 hours. So you have to calculate the difference between those hours. In this way, you will calculate the labor time idle variance, labor idle time variance. So these are the labor and the material overhead variance, material and the labor variances. Now we'll cover the variable overhead variance, which is the expenditure variance. Efficiency variance is basically the difference between the standard hour and the actual hour. Now the difference between the capacity variance for the fixed overhead variance, calendar variance, and the efficiency variance. Efficiency variance is basically nothing, the difference between the actual hours and the standard hours. So you have to know the difference between the standard hours and the budgeted hours. You got confused between the standard hours and the budgeted hours, and you apply while calculating the capacity variance, you use the standard hours, and while calculating the efficiency variance, you use the budgeted hours. So you have to clear your concept related to the budgeted hours and the standard hours. And you have to understand what is the meaning of capacity and what is the meaning of efficiency. And for going through or for clearing your concept thoroughly, you may take the LVC, which are free of cost on the Zoom meeting, as well as you may go through it on YouTube. You will conceptually understand the capacity, efficiency, and the calendar variance thoroughly. And for calendar variance is nothing the difference between the actual number of working days and the budgeted working days. So in this way, you will go through the standard costing. When you are conceptually cleared and you know the formulas, you easily got complete marks in this chapter, and it will hardly take time to attempt this question, since you have to just apply the formula. There's a number of figures. You don't have to write much in this chapter, just a formula, your figures, and your answer. You will get the complete marks. Anything you want to add, sir?
Oh, thank you. I think very, very important chapter conceptually and practice wise. Only thing I will add that first you understand that why this formula, what is the logic behind this formula. I think what Mayank told, that if you understand that, then remembering also will be very easy. And while practicing, you will be slowly will be able to understand and adopt any kind of formula which is required. So very important chapter. I think sometime case scenario question also comes from this chapter. And definitely in general, one question is there from standard costing. So I think it's very, very important to practice this chapter.
And sometimes missing figures calculations are required, and these are the most difficult question a student find to answer those questions. You are given a variance, you are given some information, now you are required to calculate the missing figure. You need to practice those questions from the recent RTPs and MTPs. You will find these types of question, and when you answer these types of missing figure question, this questions require your conceptual clarity. It will test your concepts, and when you are conceptually cleared, you can easily answer those missing figure questions. So practice those missing figure questions from the recent RTPs and the MTPs. So how to revise your syllabus? First of all, when you go through the study material, you know your concept. Now, when you are revising, you will use your Saransh, which is a last mile referencer or a quick revision booklet. You may download it from the BoS Knowledge portal, or you may order a hard copy from the CDS. It will help you revise your complete syllabus within a day. You may go through the Saransh in 5 to 6 hours, and in 5 to 6 hours you will revise your all the concepts. Now when you are going through the theory part in the study material, I have already said, you will highlight the important points or the important part and understand the real meaning or the basic knowledge of the theory part. And when you are writing your answer, you will use all those important points along with your own writing or the own part. And next is, you will compile all the formulas in your own writing. It will available in your Saransh as well, but when you compile all the formulas in your writing, it will hardly take half an hour to 1 hour to revise all the formula from your book. Next is, when you are attempting a question paper in the examination condition, you will compile your answers, and now you will compare your answer with the suggested answer and mark your mistakes and those points in which you find difficulties. And when you are comparing with the suggested answer, you will find what are the areas you will finding the difficulties and what are your mistakes while attempting the question papers. And there's a summary notes given in the study material in the last of each chapter. When you go through the chapter, give you 5 to 10 minutes to go through those summary. It will help you to quickly glance all of the topics given in the particular chapter. Take 5 to 10 minutes break after each hour to refresh your mind or body. Do anything which you like. You may roam around your balcony, you may go outside, talk to your friend for 5 to 10 minutes, or you may have a cup of tea or coffee. You may look a short video on YouTube, or you may go through any book. So in this way, refresh your mind and the body. Now the last and the important thing, when you go through the recent MTPs and the RTPs, you find the new questions, and you will mark those important or the new points in those MTPs, RTPs, new adjustment basically in those MTPs and the RTPs question. And when it will be asked in your question paper, you quickly remember these are the asked in your recent MTPs and RTP, and how you are required to adjust those requirement in the question paper. So these are some do and don'ts for the examination, like read your question paper thoroughly within the 15 minutes. Give 2 minutes break before writing. Calm your mind for 2 minutes. Do meditation, or take the name of your parents or the God in which you believe. Give your 2 minutes before writing any question, before writing any answer, give 2 minutes. It will calm your mind. You will start with a new refresh mind. You will start with a refresh mind. In this way, you don't get panic while answering your questions. And you may go through this do and don'ts we already go through in recent webinar. What are the do's and what are the don'ts?
And do not panic in any situation. I think if the question paper is tough, it's tough for everybody,
Yeah.
and it will be accordingly seen. So there is board of studies, there is people, there is examination committee who sees everything, and you do your job. You give your best. Your job is not to think anything in the examination hall ki question galat hai, अरे ये हो नहीं सकता है, and all those negative thinking you should not do, and give your best on the examination. Whatever is the best answer possible, you try to give that. I think positive mind of frame is going to be very, very important. So these are basically our thought process, which we thought we'll be sharing with you. Kostov, if you have any final words from your side, or any of you want to speak anything, you just let us know. Otherwise, we'll finish the session.
Hello.
Yes, Kostov. Yeah.
Sir, actually, no, it is very enlightening session for me, to be honest. And I understood what kind of mistake I was doing. I was actually neglecting the new adjustments. Now I will do that. Second, practice more questions by handwritten. I mean, just do not overlook that I got. And mock test.
आपको किताब
You
देख के
mentioned
ना उसका
about mock
ऑडिटिंग
test,
नहीं
na?
करना है,
Yes,
Kostov.
exactly. I was doing that
वो
only,
नहीं
sir.
करना है. Yeah.
Yes.
You have to solve
And
yourself.
yes, sir. Yes. And overall session was good, and I got more insights. I will try now, sir, to get exemption. Hope so.
Okay.
All the best.
All the best to all of you. And this is obviously the first webinar. There will be another one for financial management, and then there will be another one in the next after the next MTB. But thank you all, whoever is attended, and thank you, Kostov, for your response and for your nice words about the webinar. You kindly carry on with your study, and all the best. And from my side and on behalf of CM Mayank Jain, we'd like to thank each one of you for attending these sessions and participation. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes.
Technical team, tech support. Tech support, can you end the session, please?